Hey guys, this is Dr. Jesse Morse of the Florida Orthopedic Specialists and the Fantasy Doctors. So here at the Fantasy Doctors, we always try to keep you up to date with all of the information as much as possible. We're always available. We're watching the same games that you are. We're invested as much as you are. As you can tell with my Twitter feed, I love these games, and this is kind of what I love to do when I'm not seeing patients or at the gym, basically. So today we're going to talk about the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook. Now, hamstring injuries are a big deal. Unfortunately, it seems like the first 6 weeks of the season is when the majority of the hamstring injuries happen, and we know that based on the data that's what happens. They get tweaked, they get strained, they're dehydrated, they're not in football shape, and it happens. The last thing you want is to re-injure the hamstring severe enough to basically lose your entire season, like the 2017 Corey Davis, who we saw yesterday had a monster performance and has loads of talent for the Tennessee Titans. But if you're injured, you can't really show that talent. So that's part of my concern for both Leonard Fournette and Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is coming off of an ACL. He apparently initially suffered a cramp in your hamstring, which I didn't believe. People might call it a cramp, and they may feel like a cramp, but it's partial tear. Now, if it's a grade 1, it would have been a week or 2, maybe 3 weeks. But unfortunately, with these guys and how they need to use it, this is a very high risk for re-injury, and that's exactly what happened to Cook. He re-injured it in the first half. He's coming off of an ACL, so his knee's not quite 100%. He doesn't have the balance and burst that he did before the ACL, and the hamstring might have barked at him because it was still trying to heal, and he didn't allow it to give it enough time. My suspicion is they're probably going to shut him down for another 2 to 3 weeks. Why? Because they cannot risk this high of a pick, this loaded of a talent, to continually get re-injured for the same hamstring injury. You can kind of shut it down for 4 or 5 weeks and never hear about it again, like Odell Beckham Jr., or you can dilly-dally, re-injure it every so often and end up like Leonard Fournette. So those are kind of your main 2 options. It's in your best interest to be careful with this. I know the player wants to get on the field, but he's no good to them if he's injured and hobbling on every play. So shut it down. You need at least 2, maybe 3, ideally 4 weeks to shut it down and do all the rehab that you can do with the best trainers this world has to offer, for the most part. And just listen to them and allow the muscle to heal. Consider something like PRP, and just rock and roll. I expect Murray to play again this week, and I expect Dalvin Cook to be out a couple weeks. If I personally owned him, I may float him on the wire to see how much interest I could get in him and what people are willing to give me. I think he will not be a top 10 or 15 back for the rest of the year, just because of the way their offense is set up and because this hamstring injury may linger, and you really need to be a pass catching and pass running back that's healthy to really sustain that top 5, top 10 back status. And he's just not there yet. He hasn't proved that he's been there yet, either last year or this year. So that's my take on the Vikings' Dalvin Cook. Do me a favor and click subscribe and click the bell if you're watching on YouTube, or the subscribe button on both Injuries 101 podcast as well as the Fantasy Doctors podcast. Also check out the Fantasy Dose, our analytics site that has really been doing quite well in terms of analyzing players and their injuries, and projecting how well they can do based on their current status and all the different algorithms that the program has within it. All right, take care, guys.